over main engine, start.
What's going on, everybody? Oh, what is it? It is Wednesday, June 30th. Man, I'm really sorry about the lighting situation here tonight. Long story, we're on messed up lighting. So welcome back. Sorry, it's been, we missed the last 2 weeks, so it's been 3 weeks since we've been on. That sucks, I'm sorry. We've had a lot go on in that time frame. I thought we'd get everybody picked up. Probably one of the coolest reasons we have for podcasting tonight is it is our official 4-year anniversary. So it was pretty much exactly 4 years ago that we posted the first episode as a podcast. It was recorded a few days earlier, like 10 days earlier. But anyway, so we're all just kind of no big plans for the night. We thought we would just show up and do a little live stream, maybe do some check out Fix My Tune stuff, talk about all the crap we've had going on the last couple of weeks. We had a Rocky Mountain Race Week happen. We're getting ready for Bonneville. I got a bunch of news there. Got some Turbinator news. We were back on the dyno last week. Have tuned a bunch of weird stuff lately. We'll talk about some of that. We got a Mitsubishi. We got a DSM running on Holly Dominator.
You told me about that. I like that idea.
Logan Kraft, dude. He's up in Fargo, North Dakota, I think. Somewhere up there in the middle of nowhere with Dahlquist. And it totally runs and races. It's an Evo with a 4D63 with big boost and a fast, light car, and it's totally happy on a Dominator. He put a 36-1 trigger wheel on it. We can talk about that more, but maybe we get Logan on here. One of you guys should holler at him. Jake Hildebrandt knows him, I think. Did an airplane base tune, did an LS-powered airplane. I'll have to show a picture of that. And actually talked to another guy about another LS-powered plane. They're popular. For me personally, they're not the best choice. I'm a pilot and an EAA guy, and I just based on how they work, I wouldn't put an LS in a plane. That's just me. But I'll tune one if you want. Let's see here. I got the stuff. Cal Automotive's got some news. We'll talk about them. Andy Leach's car. They may be gunning for the record. The weather looks good. Salt conditions are supposed to be solid right now. Let me fix this camera. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff going on we should talk about. First thing, I kind of think we should kick it off about Rocky Mountain Race Week a little bit for the people who follow that.
That's been the big thing in the news here lately, and some of the rules and such that are changing at other, what do you want to call these, drag and drive events or
drag and drive is a popular term. Endurance drag racing is the term we tend to use here. Tough call. There were some interesting discussions today about that. You know, drag and drive cars versus class cars that do, 30-mile street cruises or whatever. There was some interesting chat today about that I saw on Facebook. So the big thing about Rocky Mountain Race Week, Bill's kind of the expert there, having won a class there last year. But they have 2 events this year. They're getting ready for their second. And the thing is insanely popular and sold completely out. Am I right, Bill?
Yeah, to the point where 300, I believe the number is 343 cars were actually registered in and made passes on the first day, which is almost 100 more than the normal limit. But they had so many people just show up and hoping to get in that Matt made the call to give them a shot. So, which I thought was pretty cool. Like everything, when they grow, they get a little more complicated. That is only, I believe, 20 less than the most ever at a drag week.
I was just going to ask, is that make it as big as drag week? And it's right there, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah. So the most at drag week, I think, ever was 373. So it's
huge. Congrats to Matt and June Allison, that Matt Frost that run that. That's awesome. That's cool that it's so popular. I see him now. He's going to start tightening up the rules a little. It sounds like he's talking a little bit or leaning towards what the Midwest drag guys do, which is the third and newest event added to that category.
2 weeks ago.
What is it about the tire rules, Bill? Maybe you can sum that up better than any of us.
Answer on tire rules. Drag Week was the first to do this, which was to require all cars that can go down track to race on a drag racing specific tire. Now that can be a drag radial, that can be a bias ply slick, that can be whatever. But what it can't be are snow tires and truck tires and conventional radials with tread, because the first time somebody pulls up and does a burnout in that, if you've begun to develop a nice surface and prep for these events is good, but not, it's not radial versus the world exactly.
Right.
But it's good enough to be a decent balance for everybody, and you build your car accordingly. Well, you'll get bald spots from the guy on street tires doing burnouts, literally bald spots, because it just will rip the rubber right off of the surface. So it's become apparent that you just can't have a whole horde of those cars running and expect the surface to be any good for people that actually, go fast and make power.
So that's a good
they're
thing. I
gonna
mean, it
have
really
to
is a
go
good
the way
thing.
Drag Week has. Midwest Drag started out that way from the get-go, and it's a good rule change. They need to do that.
Cool. Okay. No, I like that. Sorry, I was just catching up on the message group here. Good to see all you guys. Jeremy Fazala's on here listening. Hey, man, when are you going to get your project out? We need to get him going. It's time for the spring tune-up. He's a buddy of mine. He's a road tripper. Big-time road tripper. But yeah, that's cool to see you guys here, man. Look at all these guys. Late, but I'm here. My buddy Dakota. Oh, let's see. So there was that. We got to work on Rich Pedraza's car. Bill and I were tag teaming on that. I had a number of guys who I tuned for to get them ready. Most of them I spent my time with the week or two before the event. If you saw the guy in the blue Saab, Shaggy, everybody knows Shaggy. He does everybody's vinyl. But if you saw the little blue Saab with a Miata chassis or powertrain swap with it, he was back with a turbo combo this year, and the thing went bottom 13 quarter miles the whole time, made it up and down the mountains. It had a plug and play Miata Megasquirt in it, and I tuned that for him, and he did good. I didn't have to hear from him or help him the whole time, but Rich's deal was it got to that last minute situation, I'm sure largely due to parts delays and things like that, and we got the thing started and running, I don't know, a day before we left, but even then he had to completely remake the crank trigger sensor location because of the trigger angle. Wasn't happy with his ECU. So anyway, it was a last minute deal, but the dude ended up completing the event, which I thought was super cool. It was disappointing because we had a couple of passes where we had O2 sensor and AFR reading issues because of exhaust leaks, because of exhaust getting beat up during the trip. And then also I think we had some header bolts back out and problems like that I felt like we could have got that car to go 10 O's or even a high 9 average for the whole week. But alas, we had a couple of passes in the 12s because we were late to the track and didn't have our shit together in that department, or we were struggling. So he literally ran the last 500 miles of the road trip open loop with no O2 sensors. He had temporarily fabbed up an oxygen sensor, and he would read me the numbers going down the highway at different loads. It was hilarious.
Not to mention, little things like the gear vendor wiring never got done. So even though he had an overdrive, he did the whole trip without the overdrive.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot about that. So we were 2,800 RPM in a big block Ford the entire way. Yeah. But it towed nice, or it drove nice. It really did. It was happy at that RPM and load. He said it felt fine. And it sounded...
So it's not all the torque in the world to move that around. And that car's not too heavy, and his trailer is reasonably well proportioned. So, and he did have a magical night at Vanderbilt. Got to the track late, managed to get it flipped. It's one guy on a big tire car. And if anybody listening in this audience has ever dealt with just driving a car with big tires to the track and then getting it up in the air and dropping the rear end down and then having to swap those big old things and the street tires, those things got to weigh 80 pounds a piece between the wheel and the tire and the tread and everything. So it's a man-sized workout just to get it ready. But he got it done. And then after Pueblo the night before, and struggling through the mountains with the famous fuel heating issues and everything else that we kind of knew was coming, and it did in spades, which we're all working on solutions to. Anyway, gets there, runs a decent pass, a little quicker than Pueblo, even though the DA was 1,500 higher. And then proceeded.
Yeah, so we knew it was in it, right? We knew it was in it. I think at that point we figured out that, hey, we're not getting accurate AFRs and this thing's correcting to a bad number. There was something off, but go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Anyway, so the bottom line is, a 1080 something, and then a 1068 something, and then just leaving a little harder every time because, well, the launch tuning consisted of trying to knock the tires off with the trailer behind it on the road on the first day. And so it was like, my theory is, if it'll take the hit off, dragging the trailer that'll probably work for launch tuning, which it
That was
did.
actually a great idea. Bill was like, "Hey, why don't you work on rolling to the throttle with the trailer behind it so we can make sure to at least launch clean?" And man, that was a good call. That was a good idea. We worked on that a little bit, and he's like, "Okay, I got about one more test before the people in this parking lot are really wondering what the hell we were doing." It was
It worked
cool.
out. And
We're-
then the final run was a 1050 with a 0. And it was like, okay, that's a pretty cool hit with a 159 60-foot time.
Yeah, nowhere leaving
That
hard
car
yet.
has 130 60 foots in it easy.
All day.
You
Yeah.
know? So
I mean, we're
yeah.
talking roll in the throttle. We aren't leaving off a trans brake or nothing. He's hardly on the foot brake. Just
Yeah.
roll into it, just get a number, to keep going. I mean, because we were fighting so many other issues that it's like, okay, make your one pass, then we'll do this. It sucked for him because at one point in the evening, everyone else is going to bed. He's got 300 miles to go, and then we've fouled a set of plugs before we've really gotten a handle on what was going on in the O2s and the tune. And he has to change the plugs. It's a 2-hour ordeal. Front wheels have to come off.
Yeah, now there's going to be more holes in places to get the stuff. But those are the things you learn when you actually start, using the car. So,
For sure.
but it was a victory of one man's perseverance over almost impossible odds.
It was. It was an awesome, epic story. And that's the one thing you do not get from, a ducks race or whatever. That's probably the thing that makes these events cool. In the end, I always tell people, 51 weeks out of the year, it's the coolest thing you ever did. And then that 1 week, it's the dumbest thing. What am I thinking? But
Oh, yes.
so anyway, that was neat. Congrats to Rich. If you're listening, buddy, you did an amazing job persevering. That was freaking awesome. So what else has we got going on? Logan Craft's 4G63 running on Dominator. We pretty much went through that. It was a pretty simple deal. Airplanes. You guys ever seen a Velocity? Hold on. Where do I have a picture of a Velocity? Wait. Google Images will have this. But so I got a guy building
about 8-second electric cars.
Oh, go ahead.
Are they real? Are they mirage? Is there such a thing?
What about these Teslas that do
it?
these crazy numbers? I mean, there's cars that they supposedly they're real quick on the street, quicker than anything else. But my question is how much juice do you burn? Like, you have fun doing that like twice or 4 times and then it's over? What?
Mike is not speaking.
Sorry, I've got 3 things on at one time. I may or may not have been able to be privileged enough to be at a Tesla test session at a local racetrack where they have the track rented. I will tell you they are plugged in and charged for roughly half an hour, 40 minutes after each pass to do the low 9-second passes being quoted on the new plaid. But those are accurate passes. I watched it with my own eyes.
And they're able to maintain that all through the night if you can give them 30 or 45 minutes.
Yeah, they must have made the average track rental 6 hours. They must have made 10 passes.
Not
And
bad.
when I tell you they're
car?
like, you want to feel like you don't know how to tune, they had a trailer with like 17 dudes with like each had 3 laptops in there every time they make a pass, and they're all in there, 6 inches from their laptop screen typing 1,000,000 miles a minute. I'm just like, it's not that serious, guys. Like, this
No,
is
yeah.
hard.
Well, it probably is for them because those guys are having to write firmware that, makes this stuff work. I can see they're not worried just about how the car performs. They're like, hey, okay, I got to put this on 1,000 cars a month or a week or however many
Yes.
they build, and it's got the same tune's got to work on all of them. So there's a lot to it.
Yeah, there was a
But-
guy who ran a regular Model S dual motor at the last drag week that was actually completed. And that guy ran bottom 11s at every single track, multiple passes at each track without recharges between the passes on that thing. But you take that almost 5,000 pounds worth of batteries and everything else and hurl it down the track at 9 flat at 160 miles an hour, and you're going to use a few more joules. So,
Wow. I mean, it's coming.
and that's a street, setup for those cars, meaning they're full cars. It's got air conditioning and GPS and massaging seats, and so ask yourself, what other street car you can buy that'll run bottom 9s, go 200 miles an hour, and coddle you in comfort and auto drive.
Yeah.
Category of 1, $150,000.
Not shabby.
But is
Hold on,
it-
I'm
is
looking
it
for
a
this
race car?
picture.
Is it
It's
a
funny.
fast street car?
you talk about Tesla. This guy right here, let me share my screen. I'm getting better at this. This one. Okay, so this is the best picture I could find quickly here, but if you're into Bonneville Streamliners, this is the 444 car, also known as the Little Giant, originally built in the early 1950s. Kid you not, somewhere in here is a picture of this thing way back in the day. Oh gosh, it's all the Vescos and the Spanglers. I guess not. I thought there was an older picture, but this car has evolved over the years. But that car is getting a pair of Tesla motors installed right now that they've leased this car and it's going to be with us on the Salt at Speed Week. Electric car. And really good chassis. If you remember, that's the one that they put a cup car engine built by the Dorton family, Keith Dorton and Jeff. They put that in it 2 years ago and I tuned it on the Salt. And that's the one we went 300 and... What do we are? I think our record we broke like 312 or 314, something like that. All motor at 7,000 plus feet elevation density altitude. So anyway, that chassis is really well proven and recently had been gone through suspension wise, which I think is some of the real magic. It's rear wheel drive only, but it's going to have a pair of what I'm told are Tesla based motors that are hot rodded and they're going to be out there on the Salt with us. So I'll be pitting with these guys. So I guess I get to figure out what it's all about, but that'll be my first experience with the electric stuff. I'm kind of focused on the turbine right now. So does anybody, I guess I get to tell my story. First thing that before I get to the turbine is I found a picture of the Velocity. Can you see that? The airplane?
Oh, it's like a rear motor dealio?
Yeah, there's an LS with a gear drive box in the back. And it's a 4-passenger. It's a variant of a Burt Rutan design if you're into composites, scaled composites. But the guy that designed Spaceship One and a whole bunch of other really popular composites, this is the stuff he did 30 years ago. They designed planes like this for home builders, and it's all fiberglass or composite, or you can make it out of whatever composite you want. But popular. It's actually not the first one I've done. He got referred to me from another one, but.
Is that
Anyway,
the kind
so we're
of
talking
thing that
about
John Denver went into the ocean?
very
with?
similar. So John Denver went in a very easy or a long easy, one of the two, which is the one person wide narrowed version of this same thing. Very similar design, but it's narrower and it's either shorter or same length as this, but same exact layout otherwise.
And these are all considered experimental still because of
Correct.
wonderful world.
Anything that you build yourself is an experimental. You can still fly them wherever you want. They just have some different rules about making sure they're checked out and they pass a bunch of tests before they have an inspection, special inspections for them as you're building them along the way in the progress. And then there's some benefits to experimentals. I'm an EAA member. I helped the guys. I grew up on a little small airport when I was a kid, so I got to do some. We built a couple of things. We built a Coot amphibian. That was a home built. And then we did a mini cab. If you look those up. If you're into planes, I won't bore people. But anyway, pretty neat. Guy brought me one of these that was about 3/4 finished, and he's ready to fire up the motor. And we're kind of arguing about switching out EFI systems. I like to put redundant ECUs and everything on these. If they don't want to do that, and if it's not... The automotive engines aren't... There's some things that make them not really conducive to doing that. So I told him, let's get the best piece of hardware we could get, which I told him was Pro EFI. And the only reason I say that is because if Pro EFI uses their own firmware on top of Woodward manufactured ECUs. Jason Siebels that started Pro EFI, he left AEM. He was their chief of their ECU program, the early AEM Series 1 and 2, I think. And one of his complaints was hardware reliability. He really wanted to see the state of aftermarket ECUs get more reliable. So what he did was he started using really high quality, the highest of quality. If you know anything about Woodward Governor, that's the company that makes all kinds of cool shit. It's like a 200-some-year-old company, but they make these ECUs, and their popular customers are Mercury Marine. So you see a lot of the same boxes. If you ever look inside your Mercury inboard outboard or your Mercury outboard in the last 20 years, take note and then go shop the Pro EFI catalog online and notice that they're the same boxes, right? And so the benefit of that is that the hardware is super reliable. That the Pro 48, the little 48 pin ECU that they have, their baby one, that's actually the same controller that's used in a bunch of Rolls-Royce and GE turbofans for commercial aircraft, as well as outboard motors. So marine environment, aircraft environment, they pass a ton of electrical tests and can tolerate a ton of noise. You can feed it a shitty battery and it'll figure it out and still work. It's pretty cool. So I recommended that for the airplane guy since he couldn't use 2 ECUs. But that was about it. I'll stop my share here. What does that bring us to? That really kind of any other thoughts on electric cars?
As much as I don't, here's the thing with the electric car. It's really cool, but I don't want it to replace what we know now as racing and performance and horsepower and stuff along those lines.
We're just going to become the next flathead guys over the next 30 years.
I guess, like, it's, I don't want to lose the sound. I don't want to lose, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, there's
something about suck, squeeze, bang, blow, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There's enough things out there that rely on the production and refining of gasoline and other fuels that we're probably going to have some sort of fuel. I wouldn't be surprised if everything's E85, depending upon the politics in the future, but we'll have some kind of fuel to run stuff on. But I worry that we're going to end up further and further, shoved off in the corner as some of these states go with all this green nonsense. So, not a lot we can do really, but I guess we'll find out.
Sorry, just read Bill's message in there. I just wanted to compliment Bill and his lighting tonight. I know you must have been working on it. He has a hair light. He calls it a lack of hair light. Come on, it's fine. It looks good, man. Your lighting is killer. Good work. My lighting sucks tonight. I look horrible, but anyway, whatever. Who cares? Okay, everybody wants to know about what happened. You went to the dyno for the third time with the turbine engine. So we went up there last week to test the software, basically, that Josh Stewart had written for us that limits EGT. So it limits the fuel based on when you get to EGT. The idea is the driver can, when the second half of the run, when he can finally stay wide open and apply all the power that we've got, the computer will automatically take the fuel all the way up until we hit the EGT limit. And then it'll cut and maintain fuel to ride that limit kind of out the back door. And there's about 20 to 25 seconds of a pass that he's able to stay wide open throttle on that thing, which is cool. However, we ran into a problem. Software worked perfectly. I set a low EGT limit, like 750 degrees, which happens just hardly off idle, to test it out. And he provided me not one, but two software options. One was a simple cut.
And YouTube, I see
hold on. We're looking here.
Should be back up.
Shit, it's reconnected.
Now it's my Facebook's live again.
Okay. I think our internet had a hiccup or something, or the wife is in there downloading Pinterest. The entire Pinterest.
Since Scott died for a minute, we back now, guys?
Am I back? I'm here. Am I here? Can you hear me?
I'm seeing stuff moving around and voices and things on YouTube.
Yeah, I see people talking. It sounds like they can hear us. Sorry about that.
So they say we're back.
Maybe that means I shouldn't talk about the Terminator. Yeah, it is back here. Okay, Restream shows going. Yeah, I think internet at the office might have hiccuped here or something. That's a little weird. We haven't had that before.
Simple cut was the last phrase. That's where they said you got cut off.
Oh, so we had simple cut on the fuel and we had a PID based cut. Both of them worked around 700 degrees. And then it was decided that the team owners wanted to know how much power this thing really makes and how much was it compared to the last time. We didn't have a power number for the last engine combo. We had a fuel flow number. So we ended up just slowly inching up the fuel during a test. And I have a data log of this. I could share it with you guys if you want. Anybody wants to see it, let me know. But we turned it up and I ran out of fuel delivery before I ran out of EGT, ran into the EGT limits. So we ran it that way, like 50 seconds. And then we slowly backed it out and shut it down and everything seemed fine. But we noticed that, man, 2,400 pounds per hour, that's a lot of fuel. This thing has a 0.52, according to the manufacturer, it has a 0.520 brake specific fuel consumption. All right. And we were sitting at a facility that was literally going through an ISO inspection while we were there, an ISO 9001 2015. They were getting that inspection while we were on site. All their shit was calibrated real nice, the fuel flow. They were showing 2,100 pounds per hour. my valve was showing 24, 40 pounds per hour. But either way, if you take, let's see, let's say it was 2100 and you divide by 0.520. Yeah, so it's showing just north of 4,000 horsepower. That's about right. The dyno was showing 3,600 with the bleed band open. That's like a bypass valve for a supercharger. We know we get 800 horsepower from that, so our real dyno fuel burn was 4,400. Well, I think here's what we found out. We're like, okay, the math didn't quite add up until we did some research, and then we backed it down and let it sit for a while, and we went to work fixing the bleed band. It took 3 hours to get that where we thought it was fixed so it would close up. What it does is it closes the compressor bypass and routes all the air. Instead of having bleed air come out the side of the engine, it routes it all through the motor, and it increases horsepower for a given fuel burn dramatically. It's a big boost. Well, we went to start the engine back up and click, thing wouldn't turn. All right, maybe the starter's fucked up. It's a 48-volt starter. How much did you say that starter costs? 12?
His cost was like 7 or 8. He sells them for 12.
Yeah, so he sells them for $12,000, the starters for one of these engines, right? It's a big old DC motor, a big, like 3 feet long and 12 inches in diameter or whatever. Well, so we pull that off, and then the guy's trying to turn the shaft that drives the thing, and it won't turn either. Like, okay, what's going on here? Long story short, the engine was seized up because it was slightly over-temped. Now, normally when you truly over-temp these things, they sling molten metal, and it makes a bunch of noise, and it's really ugly, and there's a reason this dyno cell costs $1 million and is surrounded by 5-foot-thick concrete walls or whatever. But they determined that we had slightly over-temped it. And it's really weird. Long story short, we weren't getting the temperature of EGTs that we thought that we're supposed to get from the place we were sampling them. So anyway, we did some damage, and so right now it's not critical or fatal or anything, but it's got to be taken apart and a couple of things replaced or repaired. And so there's a little concern that it may get in the way of going to Speed Week. We don't know yet for sure. I should know in the next few days, but he's a little bit concerned if he can't get parts and stuff because they had to ship it back to Connecticut, where the facility is that assembles them, figure it out. And then we got to decide as a group where this is a little bit of a custom version of this engine. It's got a mix of parts from 712s and 714 models. So that makes it a little bit of an unknown. We have to figure out kind of on the fly without a dyno session, where is the max fuel we can push through this thing. And what sucks is it changes at altitude. We had a 3,800 foot density altitude where we ran it, but this engine's hypersensitive to inlet air temps, even more than it's sensitive to altitude changes, which is wild. But so that's the update on that. I mean, I know we'll be there in October. Sorry, say again. Oh, hang on. Mute yourself. You can hear yourself talking through the server. In Zoom, go to the Zoom window and mute it. Sorry, I can see that he can hear us talking. I got you muted. I got you there. Anyway, yeah, so we basically have a fucked up motor that they're repairing real quick and scrambling on, but hopefully that is up and running before we go to the event. But there's going to be some unknowns. We know we at least have EGT limiting. Thank you, Josh Stewart and the Speeduino crew. But we don't know what temperature to set it at. And it's going to be a really narrow window because there's maybe 300 or 400 more horsepower this year than the last time when they ran 503 out the back door and a 490 something, low 490s mile average. They need to have a 500 plus mile average, which means they got to come out the back door at like 530 or more. So we don't know. Our unknown is where the hell. Basically, it's going to be turn this up and it's going to be really close to melting when we get it right. And you don't get a lot of test passes with these guys.
And it might even melt that last pass and it'll all be worth it.
Well, yeah. So the good news is I was literally maybe 5 seconds away from $700,000+ in damage, but maybe only did 10 or 15 or $20,000 in damage. Yes. You know, and these guys are like, oh, what happens? You know, they were a little frustrated because I didn't want to go back to the dyno the third time, but does that mean we would have melted it down in the first pass? Probably not. I probably would set the fuel limit, but at least now I know with the specific fuel consumption that we have numbers that make sense. I can look at it and say, all right, I know this is going to get about a 0.520 horsepower per gallon or per pound. I guess what is it? Horsepower per pound. No, my bad. Pounds per hour per horsepower. That's what it is. About 0.520. So I take whatever fuel flow I'm set times divided by 0.520, and you'll end up with somewhere we got to get around 4,000 horsepower out of this thing in real numbers. Because it looks like at altitude, based on fuel flow, the last time we put together that it was really only making like 3,600 horsepower up there.
We lost Facebook video again. All I got is tires spinning.
Yeah, YouTube is the same.
Oh, I think that's us. Something with Zoom. Pull your Zoom window back up. Maybe maximize that or something, but it's not picking up. It's just tires spinning. Can they hear us? Yeah, he'll figure it out. Jason's working on it. That's something. I told him to mute something, and that did that. It's not capturing that screen or whatever.
They're saying they can hear us.
Okay. Yeah, sound's working. That's good. Okay, thank you, Jerry. So anyway, once he gets the video back, we got time. We could maybe do a fix my jacked up tune. Mike submitted one here that looks kind of interesting. So let's see what else. Any other questions from you guys about the Bonneville stuff? Anybody?
I'm reading. Someone's asking what EGT range you're playing in.
Okay, so it depends where you pick it up. If you pick it up at the hot spot, you're playing around at 1900, 2000, 2100. And that's called the T9 position. And if you pick it up at the T4, T5 position, which is plug in place of your EGT probe, and it sends the right signal. You dial the temperature in. It's used for calibrating exactly what we were doing, right? So it could simulate a temperature, and it was neat. We checked multiple places from low temp to high temp.
They're saying audio just dropped.
Oops. Well, that's...
Oh, now it's back. We're back.
Okay. What's going on there?
There's picture again.
Oh, that's wild. Gotcha.
It's always the controller's fault, Scott. It's always your fault.
I know. Well, anyway, so long story short, we checked the controller, and our little Speeduino homemade guy was plus or minus 2 degrees with a fucking FAA certified test facilities, test equipment. So they shut up about that. That impressed me because, I'm sitting there thinking, well, it is, it's homemade electronics and stuff. I mean, maybe something's wrong there, but it absolutely passed the test. So Speeduino guys, kick-ass job. No problems at all. No failed starts. No nothing weird. No hot starts. We have a really nicely tunable controller, and we are now talking to people who sanction the unlimited hydroplane boats about a control system, and also some tractor puller guys that run turbines. So looking pretty cool.
Asking if your EGT sensors have thermo wells.
I'm not sure. They were using the sensors that come with the engine. It's whatever the Honeywell engines come with, right? But it's a K-type, which is cool. So it's the same thing you're using in your Holly as far as the ECU is concerned. But I don't know. And that was a question I had. I don't know if they have thermal wells or not. That's a great question, Rick Walters. And we're back. What else? I'm not watching Facebook because I was busy.
Facebook's good. I'm looking at it now.
Okay. Make sure we're not missing anything there.
I only
Gotcha. He had to restart Zoom. That was what was happening. Jason's
YouTube
on it. This is why I'm glad we have a producer when shit hiccups on this end. It's nice because he can get it back quick. Yay, Jason. He's over here kicking himself. What's going on? I'm gonna die. No, it's not a paid show. If it was ESPN,
My main thing I'm into right now is learning about how to make 4-speeds live in, 6-speeds live, I should say, for endurance drag racing and drag racing events.
Tell us more.
Well, I mean, who knew, for example, for the guy running your typical T56 Magnum that you want to run a Tilton fluid pump that you connect to the back of the case, and then you run it through the little pump, and then you inject up in the front toward where the fourth gear cluster is. And then if you buy the fancy version, it'll spray fourth, third, and second. And that's because when you accelerate hard, and I first heard about this from Bill Armstrong, but not surprisingly, James is all over this stuff. You accelerate the car, you wheelie a little bit, and all the fluid goes to the back of the trans. And, so you starve the, it's just splash lubrication, right? So this way you create a sprayer that does all of that. And so there's a whole host of tricks that people are doing to keep transmissions that really weren't meant to handle 1500 or 1800 or God knows how much power James is throwing at one point, that kind of power through these stick shift, these transmissions that were originally designed for regular, quote, street cars. So it's a lot of fun. And then, of course, there's clutches like Black Magic. And then
you got Matt Walter listening, checking in. Sorry, I'm just saying you have an audience here. That go ahead.
Yeah. But nobody cares about stick shifts. Too bad.
No, I think they do, man. I honestly look at Kale and Tinsy are busy AF. I talked to him the other day, and they're just nonstop. I mean, people are keeping them busy, and it's getting busier, so that's good. What's he saying? Tick Performance has been doing the spray thing for a while. Has to do with needing to run ATF because of the small needle bearings. Can't run a stickier fluid. Gotcha. Interesting. I didn't know any of that. That's crazy. So, yeah. What else? Anybody else got any topics they want to hear about? Jerry Bonneville's been waiting for like 4 months for me to review his tune. Make sure, let me see if I've got it here still. I think I do. Talk amongst yourselves. Or not. Let's see here.
Well, Mumford's Garage is talking about what it was like at RMRW. So hottest RMRW on record. Just a miserable experience, I know, for having done that last year. And on average, the heat was 10 degrees less last year than it was this year. And we were pretty, what should I say, sweltery coming across Kansas back into Nebraska, up into Colorado and all that. It was a blessing and a curse. When we went up in the mountains, it was beautiful and the air was lovely. And the car had to stop every 20 minutes because we were boiling the fuel. So we got to spend that much more time hanging out in the beautiful mountain air. And they took them for 2 full loops this year up into the mountains. So some people love that. If you're driving a cushy, brand new car that can just do all that stuff in its sleep, great. If you're doing something you put together yourself and it's got little issues.
Unpopular opinion. If you take up one of the limited spots in your stock car to drive around, I don't care how cool your high horsepower stock car is, stop. Let the guys that are building their cars. And
for the love of God, I could not agree more. Huge props to Blake Hughes for
if you have a new Hellcat or a CTSV, they're cool cars. I owned a CTSV. I loved it to death. Don't get me wrong.
But it doesn't make you a big player in that world.
Well, none of that. But when you make it, don't go bragging about how you pulled this whole thing off while you drove down the road with your cool
with
seats
fucking
on
air
and the radio
conditioning,
playing.
dude. I remember that. I'm reading those posts and I'm talking to Rich on the other line, and I'm just like, dude, you got to really do your own. You got to build the car, man. That's why I thought Shaggy's little Sovereign and 13s all week was so cool, because that car is all project. And literally no OEM, hardly anything anymore. It's just cool. It was neat. But yeah, those are the guys that should be talking, because they're the ones going through the struggle.
Matt's rule changes on that are good. So what he said is they're never going to, get rid of the slower classes. So the what they call the true street classes, which are index classes, 13 and 14 being the lowest one. But they're going to ask that if you're going to run, they have a 9-second true street class. You've got to have a fairly serious piece to run 9 flat at altitude. I don't care if it's boosted or not.
Yeah. People don't realize how hard it is. What was that? You lose 2 seconds. Going up there on an 11-second car.
It isn't that much, but it's a lot. So
I guess it depends on the tune, but I saw a couple people that had a car that would run. Like the girl that Kerry Watson had a car that would run in the mid 11s, goes 13s up on the mountain, but almost 2-second loss. But
yeah, there's a lot of things around that. But the bottom line is, he said if you're going to run the 9-second index class, you better have a car that runs 9s. And so that's one of the things they're going to do. So it's not across the board for everything, and they'll still have the index classes. So that'll give the hobby builder or the starting out builder. My first drag car ran 14s and thought it was the coolest kid in the world. Of course, 14s were faster back in the Stone Age. So, but yeah, but for the rest of it, I really do think it ought to be a car that you cut your fingers working on, you know.
Right on. Oh, let's see here. What else? Okay, let's take a look here. I think I got Jerry's tune here. Let's take a look at this one first. So Jerry's been waiting forever. Here's the story. And I haven't even looked at this. All right, let's share this. Let me share my screen here. Hold on. Dun, dun, dun. Mr. should be faster at doing this. And
we doing live tuning?
Yeah, I think so. Let's take a look at this. All right. This one's pretty good. Can we see that? No, I did the wrong one. Hold on. Let me do my other screen. Share this screen. Get all my messages up there. Now. Okay. Now you should be seeing Jerry's fuel table. All right, Mike, what's the first thing I'm going to tell him sucks about this tune?
Turn that, well, besides the fact 2 pounds per hour.
Right? Okay, he nailed it. Dude, Mikey, it's pretty sharp, dude, Mike. You can go to one class and you pretty much remembered everything. Did you take a lot of notes, or is that just your nature to remember all these?
No, it is. They make fun of me at work. They say I have a memory. I get told constantly that if I had your memory, it's what I keep getting told.
Yeah.
I'm lucky in that sense.
That's awesome. No, it is. I just noticed you're basically catch all the same shit I look for. So I switched over to ECU config. It's a Dominator. Engine parameters. Just start going down the list. So obviously, change this sucker. I'll tell you what. Change this to VE based. Convert from fuel flow to VE. Yes, but do not rescale.
No.
So what
now go look at this.
Tell the noobs in the Holly that when you make that change from speed density to VE based, other than the fact that the table's all red, what is that allowing you to accomplish?
What that's doing is changing the way the Holly decides to calculate the fuel that needs to go in the engine. Okay, if you do pounds per hour, it does not factor RPM into the game at all. So when you have a flat table in pounds per hour, if you were feeding an engine 5 pounds per hour at 1,000 RPM and 5 pounds per hour at 2,000 RPM, it's literally getting half as much fuel at the 2,000 RPM. You're like, but it's only 500 pounds per hour. Yes, but it's double the number of combustion pulses per time per minute or per second or however you want to look at it, right? So to maintain that air to fuel ratio, if you're pumping twice as much air, something in the background needs to calculate that difference. That's what sucks about this. So you've seen my VE tables or how we like to do them before. This is, Jerry, I'm sorry, buddy. We're going to just tear it up, brother, but this is your VE table. Okay. Oof. It's got more fuel going into the motor at 500 RPM and slight vacuum than it has going into the motor at any other point during the run. So
yeah, I was losing my mind because I thought maybe there's some theory I don't know about, because the VE numbers in that bottom left corner were like, I think I saw a high of 112.
Exactly. There's 125ers down in here.
And that's what he's talking about, Bill, because when you do that in RPM based, at 500 RPM, there's so few combustion cycles going on that's how much extra fuel is being used each combustion cycle, just because the piston's not moving fast enough.
Exactly. It's going half the speed. You're moving half the air. So turning on VE based will let the Holly do the background math for you to not have to compensate for that. So you can have a flat VE number and it'll automatically, that VE numbers are fuel per cycle, okay? Not per time unit. So if their cycles are increasing, the same VE number is the same air fuel ratio across the board.
Per cycle. Per cycle
and per vacuum, right?
Yes.
But I mean, long story short, you can tell that he's figured out this thing starts and idles over here, or starts and runs and idles over here, and then it comes down here for probably part throttle cruise, and then here's wide open, and you can tell his learn
is on.
Let's apply this and go ahead and smooth. So now the learn table has been applied. You can tell it's been doing a lot of learning in this area, you know, and it probably runs okay because it doesn't spend much time in these areas. But what's obnoxious is during decel, it'll visit these areas sometimes and just get this ton of fuel, you know, that you don't want. And you can tell that over here it's tuned well. This is probably a pretty hot combo because this is 0. This is where he lives. This is probably where he runs, and it's showing in the 100 and teens VE. But
Jared,
it's showing it.
Is
Go
this
ahead.
thing making peak power at 4,000,
Peak
4,200
torque,
or something?
peak torque at 4,000.
Yeah.
Yep. So it knows it. I was just going to point that out. God damn, Mike, you can teach these classes. It noses over the VE table of his current fuel, presuming this table is right. It noses over at RPM. That may be an unused spike. That it may be that his engine never gets to 4,000 because of the way it's geared.
The other thing is Holly Learn. The thing I hate about Holly Learn table, and people have to understand, it overshoots. So if let's say you had just closed loop on and you went back and looked at that spike on the closed loop might have said it had to add 8% to make target. But then you'll watch Learn, and Learn will add 17 for whatever reason. Holly Learn overshoots when it's doing this, and that's why I'm not a.
That's the other thing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest
overshoot of both ways, Mike.
It overshoots
over
both
and under.
ways.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or it'll keep flipping around back and forth, which is annoying. This is why I turn off the Learn. Let's find out if he's so close. Let's go to.
So for context for our audience, do we know what this is?
Jerry Bonneville, tell us about the car. It's going to take him about 20 seconds to hear that question. But Jerry, tell us about the car. It's an 8th mile bracket race car.
Okay.
On alcohol.
On alcohol? I didn't
And
even.
is it power adder or not?
Yep, it is. No, it's naturally aspirated. And how do we know that?
Yeah.
The table only goes to 0 psi.
Okay.
So he's not. If it is forced induction, he's got bigger problems than this fuel table. I've seen guys that were running happily with race cars with a map sensor that was 1 bar, but like 20 pounds of boost because the closed loop was just handling business. Like they'd let it add 150%, and it would work. Something ridiculous. But let's see. So we're 8th mile idle and wide open throttle is about it. But I want the entire table correct for consistency. You sure do want the entire table correct.
Especially
so I can tell. So he's idling somewhere in the 30s for VE, right?
Yes.
And he's idling at about 3 inches of or -3 psi, which is like 6 inches of vacuum or something, a little bit more. And his wide open is probably always above 4750, Mike. That's probably what's going on. His Learn never got a chance to get here because it immediately gets to the 5,000 and it runs in this range right here.
Jerry,
so
how loose is that converter?
Right. Yeah, so what I would probably do, I'd probably set these guys to about 55, just guessing. And I'd ramp it over.
Small block Chevy, coil unplug, methanol, power glide, 2,100 pounds.
Got it.
2,100 pounds.
Is that thing a rail? You got a pipe rack?
No, be friendly. Goddamn door car snobs.
I'm not.
It's all right if it's all right if it's a lay down oil derrick. It's cool. I'm kidding. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna put this guy. Now, so I made my top row VE table at 0, right? And I'm just gonna the top row of my table. I'm gonna copy it to the top 5 rows or so. Okay. Whoops, I screwed that up. This one here. There we go. So now I'm going to take that same thing and I'm put it down at the bottom. I'm going to get rid of that 140% VE. I'm going to paste it and I'm going to multiply it. I'm going to cut it in half, basically. I want half the numbers.
Gary says he sent you a log. That'll be interesting.
Okay. It might be a little late to look at the logs. So offset selected times 0.5, right? I cut them in half. This is how I do VE.
That is a door car, Scott. He said it's an old light Corvette.
Gotcha. Nice.
Wow.
Winner.
Yeah.
Everybody's jealous now all of a sudden. That's cool.
I am. I'm like,
damn, I wish I had a 2,100 pound car. I'd only need to make 500 horsepower to go faster than I'm going now.
Stock bottom end 5.3 killer right there. Let me borrow that thing for like 6 months, bro. Just send it
if you saw what I did, I took the VE at 100 at wide open throttle, the table numbers I had here, okay? And if you look at these on a graph, just graph that row. Oh, wait, hold on. It won't, does it only do a, I thought it would graph a highlighted section. If you look at these numbers here, there we go. So that's basically a torque curve, okay? Match the torque curve of most engines. Now you can, nope, guess can't do smoothing when you're highlighted like that.
It's a drag race motor, so you would expect, even with a 7,000 RPM upper limit, that light a car interesting. But yeah,
Yeah, it's probably a handful. It's probably
So
cool.
that means it should be a 4500 converter or something in that range.
Okay, got it. That's good then. That explains why you don't see why his VEs were all nice and correct numbers right around 100, or a little over, above 4500. So that's really the only place it had a chance to learn was because it's where he runs it. So that's fine. But here's
they're
something that
right, so it rides those gears for a good length of time.
Yep. Yes. Jerry, you'll probably have to take a chunk like this where it idles and take some fuel out. I'm hitting control left arrow here to get it in the 30s at about your number. So it'll be about like that. So there's a big hole. If you look at the graph, I just made a big hole in it, right? Yep. So what you can do, well, the first thing my dumbass is doing, use a smaller table.
Yes.
By far easier.
I was waiting for you to do that, man.
Yeah. I keep forgetting I'm not on Terminator. Where you
exactly.
So add that to the bin of why did Holly take that out of Terminator?
So little known fact: when I build my Terminator files, I build them in small table in the Dominator software, and I copy paste and drop them, and then I make them large and copy paste and drop them over on the Terminator, just to save time.
So I'm ramping this in this way, a little more of a steep ramp. Okay. Now I'm going to kill down here.
20s.
Yeah. So it kind of matches this. Then I'm going to do my little fade haircut deal. Fill row values. Let's look and see what it looks like over here. Now we're getting somewhere. Yep. Clean up this table a little bit.
Right there. Yep.
Yep. This. And maybe, so if he's idling about here, okay, he's going to want more fuel up here when he whacks the throttle.
Probably.
So here's my rule of thumb. Figure out where you're idling on a VE table. He's about, what was it, 3 inches we figured, a vacuum, 3.5, or PSI. About in the mid-30s for VE. So he needs to be like in the high 60s, low 70s, almost double. When he whacks the throttle, there's going to be a demand on the fuel table instantly for roughly double, little less than double, the fuel that he's idling on. So this is how you make that throttle stab nice and crisp before you even do the Excel enrichment tuning.
That's what I say for you guys listening. This is your Excel enrichment really only plays part when the throttle's rocking. Once the throttle's done rocking, it's looking at your table going, hey, I'm here now. What do I do?
Mike, you're hired. I'm just going to have you teach these classes. You do a better job of explaining shit than I do. I ramble on like an idiot. This guy can lay it down. He's exactly right. It's only when that throttle is moving do the actual Excel enrichments. If you hit it, it's fine, and then it coughs, it's here. If it can't take off from RPM, you could watch the dot on this table and just tell when you're getting it right. Kind of like Bill was talking about with Rich Pedraza and tuning his, using the dyno as a load, or using the trailer as a simulated load and rolling into the throttle hard from idle and seeing if
Scott, that spot on the map, that's the 2-step on the brake. This thing's sitting 4,400 RPM. If it's got that loose of a converter in it, I bet you it's sitting there. That one weird spot that was on the map.
Yeah.
That's learn on the 2-step.
Oh, I bet that is learn on the 2-step. It's adding fuel. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Oh, he's just 2 steps, 3,400.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I don't think that bump was at 3,400.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was right at 42. So that tells me it transitions through that area, and then that probably the learn never had a chance to take out the fuel that was in there.
The excess fuel from being on 2-step, something on those lines. That's learn. And once again, you guys, please understand, learn is an awesome tool, but it has some holdbacks to it that will bite you in the ass.
You got to know when to apply it. It can work really good in the right application. Tuned a boat last week with HPs that learn was awesome. It worked awesome. Boats and airplanes work great with learn. Okay.
Aren't boats and airplanes both with that issue where your speed, your gain in speed is nothing remotely like a drag race situation, and boats run
constant duty, buddy.
Dyno
constant duty.
Nope. The only thing you need on a table for airplanes and boats looks something like this. Can you see what I'm highlighting right there? That's pretty much everything that an airplane or a boat uses, which is cool. And the load's always constant. There's never any real deceleration. Transitions are easy. Air fuel or Excel enrichments are easier to tune. What I've highlighted right there. But anyway, back to the car, not the boat. Excel enrichment. Let's take a look. Woo, he's got a lot in there. And I bet you that was compensating for a VE table. Of course, he's on methanol. But a lot of times what I see, I've noticed, is you with big throttle bodies, okay. Acceleration enrichment versus TPS, rate of change, blanking. That's the worst way of saying the minimum threshold to turn on Excel enrichments.
Yes.
That means you got to be at 7% per second change before it'll start kicking in fuel. That's usually responsible for a little initial hiccup. Try this around 4 or 5.
He said on the logs, it pukes its guts out and bobbles on launch before it smooths out to the target air fuel. So that's just showing you that was that hole we were sharing, that spike, that your table's that far off. You're probably going down track on closed loop if I had to guess.
So it's not running good until it's on closed loop,
exactly.
Right? Yeah, it takes a second for it to catch up, or half a second.
And coming off two-step, there's so much extra fuel in the motor because we've been killing coil packs while we're sitting on two-step.
Jerry, you should just have one of us do a remote for you on this car, because we could make this thing. What you want is to get your fuel table to the point where closed loop doesn't have to do shit.
Yes.
And you can almost turn off closed loop, and really just have it be the same fuel over and over every time, like a mechanical injection setup, and then turn back on the closed loop stuff. But I would run it at least to get a ballpark on how far off our table might be when we're done, but this thing should run better. I'm guessing you'll want a little bit less enrichment, and you probably want to lower these guys, maybe leave map there, but AETPS, you can take it all the way down to 3 or 4 or 5 if you want. What you'll notice is if you go too low here, that noise will turn off your closed loop correction. Yep. So basically you're going to turn this up and inch it up until your closed loop correction starts working, and then add maybe 1 to it. And I usually find out that 4 and 5 works pretty good down here. Yep. I could do a live remote. Bert Blair says you should do a live remote tune. I'd like to. Somebody got one that's sitting there with their car right now listening to us in a garage with Holly or Fuel Tech, or I don't know. James is listening. We could probably pull off a Haltech, but he's got a car on the dyno right now. I don't want to do that to him. But if somebody's got something they want to do a real live remote, I'll any desk you. Or is Jerry with his car in the garage? Sorry? Oh,
I'm on stock ECU, Joe.
Oh, sorry, man. God be with you. Have some holy water. Good luck. I don't know, Jerry, are you where your car for a live remote? Okay, Jerry, he says he's volunteering. Download anydesk.com on your laptop or whatever you're hooked to, and hook to the car. And then we'll go ahead and do this real time. We'll load this tune up that I saved him. Show you how that's done on AnyDesk. I can transfer the tune. And then let's do his startup, idle, and all that tune at the same time. So let me save this. Save as. Call this Jerry's new tune. Okay. Now let's fire up AnyDesk.
Jerry, if you're in the sound of my voice, either plug power into your laptop, or hopefully it's on a full battery.
I told him just download anydesk.com.
Wait.
Oh, his car is at the track in the trailer for this week. Sorry. Okay, never mind. No, we meant live as in live now. Okay, anybody else got one? Sitting there with their car?
Looking for volunteers. Somebody's in the garage with a car that
wants. Yep, with the laptop, with the car, on the internet. We can
and already drives a little bit, not first start silliness.
Let us know. I'll keep going on Jerry's. Let's look at his ignition here. I'm going to assume it's configured right. Now you see his two-step. See his firing order. He's got coil packs. Usually cranking timing, I run closer to 0 or 5. That's about it here. But I just want to see the... Let's see here. Spark
Let's
table.
look at Rev Limiter. Was that Rev Limiter 1 the two-step?
Two-step. Yep.
Okay.
Two-step on Holly. They call it Rev Limiter 1. So he's got. I can go with this timing map for naturally aspirated.
I don't hate it, but
I don't hate it. I wouldn't own it, but I don't hate it. Usually on D-cell motor like his, you're going to see something like this. He's gonna shit. But
can you bang the smooth all button just one time for me? Kind of put a little contour to it.
I'm just gonna put my treatment in here.
Does methanol affect much of anything that you guys are talking about here versus more conventional?
Not horribly, man. Typically, I'll put almost the same timing in it, and then I'll say, look, get to the track. Then we'll start putting a degree or two in it. I always try to save if I know I'm on the safe side, I try to save the last couple degrees for the guys at the track or for fun later. We'll squeeze out that last 30 or 40 horsepower. I don't know what Mike's theory is on that. I know he likes to go on kill sometimes right away, but it depends
No,
what you're doing.
I start conservative, but then again, I'm a plug reader, so I'm gonna.
Well, I like women, but I'm not gonna hold it against you.
Wait, what?
Nothing, I'm kidding.
Say that again?
Bill didn't follow. It's okay. I'm teasing. Plug readers on LSs lately, I'm running into a lot of those, but they'll get you right to the edge of timing for sure, where it might break, but for sure.
Strap? No
Let's
strap.
see. Let's look at his target air fuel ratio here. Whoo, look at that. Well, I'm proud of Jerry for at least not running 3.7 AFR like some of these Tony Stark tuners out there. That's probably all right for naturally aspirated. I'm okay with that. I would actually, I would extend what you were doing like this. I would include wide open, just winging the throttle. Whoops. Oh, here we go. This is the version with the weird bug. Watch this. I type in 54.
Why does this thing need rows down at 500 and 700 and stuff like that? I don't know how much cam is in this, but I got to believe it spends zero time there other than cranking.
But transitions through it.
Yeah, and that sometimes when they fall back to idle and they'll drop through that area.
Yep. I want it that way. I map it all the way down. I mean, you can go to 1,000, but it's a nice ramp between cranking and as soon as cranking is over at 400, you're on the table at 500, right? So I like to have that because I find a startup, a lot of guys will pass through like a real rich fuel spot cranking and don't notice it, but it kills plugs, it milks down the oil. I see that all the time, but I typically will do this. I don't usually differentiate unless I have a huge cam like we did in that boat and they had to lug it. I would put some like 6 here, but to make it a little leaner at idle target. But typical target table for a car like Jerry's, I'll do this, something like that. Keep saving the tune frequently in case it crashes or something weird. So back to timing. I'm sorry I'm skipping around a lot. I know how much Bill loves that. But I'm going with this timing table for now. It's probably something, if Mike wants to read plugs or we want to go to the track.
No, that's a lot bigger than it was when we started.
It is. Oh, wait, hold on. He probably still doesn't like
stand shelves in a timing table because...
Oh, I hate big transitions in a timing table. Even worse than fuel.
So
yes. It's at 10 degrees here, but then I just went to 40 in a 100 RPM band. No, the engines don't like that.
Well, no, okay, you know what? In this situation, he'll never notice it until he's driving it back on the return road. And he's coming down and he's sitting on that one spot on the table and he's bouncing back and forth 10 degrees timing.
Yep, I hate that shit. Can't handle it. Yeah, it's cool. This is also why I leave, let me guess. This is going to be my next lecture here. Yeah. Data logger. Okay.
Jerry, you driving it back to the pits or you towing it back to the pits? Bracket car, I assume you're driving it back. And they probably hot lap late in the race.
Can you see, is it showing his log settings, the ECU log settings? We got to fix this. Dude, you don't need more than 20 frames a second.
No.
But you do need more than 30 seconds. Let it go as long as 10 minutes, 600 seconds, okay? And also, for the things that Mike was just talking about, for the love of God, people, this isn't 1987 strip chart data logs. Set it up so it records any time the thing is running, every time it starts up. Hold on. Where's RPM? Right here. So anytime RPM is greater than 0, log it. You can zoom into the spot, and it might take 3 minutes to download the log, but set it up this way. That way you can catch the stuff Mike was talking about with the decel weirdness coming back. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm not saying you have to look at that race night. Race night, you're making changes on the track. But then when you get home, and you'd have to see where I'm sitting right now, but I have a 42-inch monitor in front of me, and I open that log up, and now I'm going to sit here and go, hey, so-and-so was driving the car back and said it was popping on the return road. Let me go find that pass. And I'll go find it that night. Not worried about it necessarily at the track, but I'll find it that night and something we can make a change for the next outing.
We got another guy to do a live remote.
Oh, it drives like a 2-stroke now, and I drive it like a car around the pits.
Good for you.
I like to drive it around the pits. I'm not sure the 2-stroke thing makes a lot of sense to me.
No, it does here because of the way this table is set up, man. I can tell you right now, this was not going to be a very responsive motor until it clears its throat out. and it's going
by
to be
sense, I mean, why not tune that so you can drive it around the pits like?
Yeah. Oh, gotcha.
on
Yes.
most
Yes.
things. Yeah.
Correct. Well, Bill, your car is a great example. I remember the first time we even put the batch EFI on your car, and you were like, "Whoa, I can cruise down the highway at like 1,800 RPM without this thing bucking and jerking." I remember that. It was kind of cool. It's neat to
That's
see.
cool. That was
The
what-
blessings of EFI. It better be doing that, because as much of a pain in the ass it is to get up and working. Yep. Okay. Well, I think I got your D cell pop taken care of, Jerry. If not, we can work on that. But what else? That's the basics here without getting into anything else wild. Let's save this. I'm gonna send it back to old Jerry here. And
Don't load it before your next race. Don't. Jesus Christ.
here come the disclaimers. Nobody on RealTuners will actually take responsibility for what may happen. No.
Be prepared to go back to what you have now, please.
Where did Holly go? There it
I'd
is.
be very interested to know how consistent the car was on that previous tune. You know, I mean, it's a bracket
So
car.
if you
so the
message
whole
him
point
on
of a bracket
YouTube,
car
he
is
can
to
answer
have
right
consistency.
away instead of the 30-second. Whoops, I went to the wrong folder. There we go. Send it. Literally. Okay. Done. All right. See what that does, Jerry. What you should do though, Jerry, is get me on to help tune the startup and idle
Yes.
and make that kind of make sure everything makes sense.
Get plugged
Oh,
in.
gotcha,
And he can
cool.
make that, he can make that a whole lot better if he spends a little time plugged into the car with the car running.
Oh, check it out. Jeremy Fazal is ready to go on any desk. Hold on a second here. So I'm going to load him up. Talk amongst yourselves for 30
he's saying
seconds.
he has to go to the park because he can't do it in his driveway this late.
Jeremy said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. He just sent me that too. He's driving down there now.
So this is a car that doesn't have a quiet exhaust.
Jeremy's cool. If you follow his YouTube channel, he'll just hop in the car and drive from Arizona to New Jersey.
Dude, he bought a set of wheels from me when I lived in Apopka, and I'm pretty sure he was driving like to Texas or New Jersey or something along those lines afterwards.
Okay, Jeremy, click accept. I'll have to message him. It's quicker this way.
I also like the fact that he is sensitive about not upsetting his neighbors. I like that.
Not upsetting his what? Oh, his neighbors?
Neighbors. Yeah.
Jeremy's a good dude, man. He's a good guy. He wouldn't be a dick to nobody like that. There we go. Okay, are you ready for this? Y'all ready for this? Jason, you need to have some really cool music queued up. Okay, screen one. Share it. Okay, we are on Jeremy's business now.
Oh,
Okay.
shut down the porn over there on the lower right.
Kidding. No.
I threw the fix my tune at him.
Oh, he's got the okay, cool. Jason's working it. He's working it. Okay. Jeremy's driving right now, I think. Hold on. So let's go USB link, right? That gets us on real time. Kick ass. There we are. Fuel table. Oh, Jeremy, what all have you changed since I've been on here last time? So let's get his AFR values up here. He's driving around, throttle's moving. Look at that closed loop comps going like crazy. Let's smooth this out. So here's his 100 kPa line. I'm going to change this preferences to show PSI.
Just driving around the neighborhood, right?
Yes, he is. So it's doing a whole lot of correction here. Not much right there, but this needs, let's do this. Let's kind of start over here. I'm just going to watch closed loop comp and see how much it's having to work.
So for those of you trying to figure out, closed loop comp is down the lower left part of your screen.
Yep. It doesn't show the target AFR. Let's move to a, hold on.
It'll show you target.
Though it will, but I got to change it over and I accidentally hit edit.
Oh, I
There we
got
go.
you. I got you.
Okay, so there's target. But this one's not showing, they're showing closed loop comp. It's wanting to add a bunch down here. That's not bad though, his decel. Let's see what his target air fuel looks like. Yeah, I could
85.
probably.
Gotta be 85.
Are you on E85, Jeremy? I'm going to message him. Hold on. I'll pull this one up here. It just rained, unfortunately. That's okay. Don't do anything stupid. You don't need to. Just we'll get the cruise dialed in.
Don't do a 3-gear burnout or anything.
I think
while
he's
watching.
on gasoline, man, because he cruises across the damn world.
Make life
Well, I'm
easier.
looking at this weird, like, see how it goes 11, let's say 11.0, and then it picks back up to 11.6, and then goes back down to 11.1, around the 10 to 15 pound mark.
Why is everything straight all the way across in those little bands?
Because generally I'm okay with that, but yeah, you're right that the thing here is messed up. Well, so there's been a bunch of us messing with this. Like Katz has helped him some, and I know this is just this messing with it. Kind of, he's changing a lot of stuff up. Okay, there it's adding 25%. He's on a pretty steady cruise right here, so we know this area here offset selected times 1.25. Let's try that. Let's see if it doesn't close loop as much while he's decelling or gentle cruise. This motor pulls a lot more vacuum than his last one. I'll tell you that. So
Turbo cam.
What's that?
Turbo cam.
Maybe. I don't know what he all changed. It's been 6 months since I've been on Jeremy.
And that guy that does the dynos online says there's no such thing as a turbo cam. I heard him say it myself. Sorry,
Okay.
Mr. Clean. Yeah. All right. But there's something off with his fuel scale because his VEs aren't showing 100 up here.
Yeah. And
So my guess is he maybe changed injectors or he's getting more fuel flow than he thought because his VEs don't go to 100. So there's
what's
something
he
weird
scaled
about
in
that.
fuel wise?
Yeah. Oh, we need to put his learn table. He's got learn turned on here. So now what did it do? This is all okay.
Scott, go look and see what he's scaled for fuel wise.
Yeah.
Is that what's wrong here?
Yes, the fuel scaling. It's delivering more fuel than whatever he said. So he says it's got a set of 120s, but it may actually be flowing quite a bit more than that. Maybe they're 160s.
That's what I'm wondering. That would make sense because that would be what 40 ps. No, yeah, 40 psi. That'd be about 30% different. And wasn't his table only hitting like 60%, 70%?
Yeah. What injectors? I'm asking him. Also, let's take a look at his fuel pressure. Maybe his fuel pressure is nuts. What was it here? It's not connected live, but I'm looking for whichever.
He must have shut the car off.
No, I went offline because I was trying to look at that screen. Fuel pressure 50, 51. I think his fuel pressure might be higher than we had set it for originally, and maybe that's what's going on. Because usually you'd think you'd see that where he's barely moving. The other thing I see is a whole bunch of TPS twitching. So he's got a little bit of noise there, it looks like. Yeah, you see that? Dude, your TPS sensor is whack. Hold on, let's take a look at the set up TPS on one of the gauges here. So
could it be the sensor or could it just be not a very good connector
the signal, let's restate that. Yeah. The signal isn't great. So I double clicked on this gauge setup. Go find TPS, set it up for 0 to 100. Okay, Holly 120s, he says. Fuel pressure may be a little high. Okay. Drive when you can. Looks like TPS making noise.
So for those of you who might not be familiar with this is somebody who's driving to the park so we can make more noise, whatever the park is.
So first off, and I don't typically watch widebands at idle, but this thing's trying to idle at 12.5, 12.9 on gasoline.
Yeah, is it because his target table? And is that when closed loop is working or not?
I didn't have a chance to look there.
Yeah, look at the TPS bouncing around a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's his foot doing that. Maybe not. Might just be his foot.
The map is bouncing pretty hard.
It's him getting it out of the throttle.
Yeah.
Okay. Try and hold some steady state. Get on a highway somewhere, man, or a steady state cruise. I'll tell him that. I keep forgetting that we're on a delay. Also, don't text and drive. This is horrible. Pay attention when you're doing this stuff. Make sure your drivers are paying attention.
This is when dynos as tuning tools.
Dynos are nice for this. Yep.
That's why it's also nice to be when you're doing this. You've got a live audio connection because then you can
That
cover a
helps
lot
too.
of ground without
Earbuds.
Yes.
earbuds for the win.
Yeah.
Wired earbuds for the win.
Yeah, not wireless.
All that battery-powered Bluetooth shit
Yep.
is shit in cars like this.
So he's 2 minutes from a highway. He's getting on there now. We can hang tight. Does anyone think this is cool or is this dumb? Let us know. Give us some feedback.
Oh, this
He
is the most
says-
awesome
yeah.
thing on the planet.
They're saying the actual.
Someone
Yep.
caught this.
I didn't even
Pressure
see it.
43, but rated pressure 51, which is incorrect for the Holly 120s. Thank you, Matt Sanford. Everybody's all over this shit. Look at that. Our wonderful listeners. Hold on a second here. So they're picking up on shit we didn't even pick up on.
Yep. I didn't even
Actual
see it.
system pressure.
Can you
Yeah, but
repeat
rated
the
pressure at
comment,
51.
Scott?
Yes.
Yeah, just repeat what the observation was from our audience.
Matt Sanford said he is showing actual fuel pressure of 43, but rated pressure at 51, which is incorrect for the Holly 120s. I'm not entirely sure where he's getting with that, but
So look down where it says rated injector pressure. So those injectors are 120, but I know they're not rated at 50.
Oh, they're rated at 43.5.
I think they are.
But that's going to make it actually put more fuel in now. But system pressure, I think he's a little bit higher. I'm just going to, for the hell of it, bump this to 50 and see if this changes. Now, this is going to make the thing drive a little different, but we have closed loop going, so I kind of have faith in closed loop. Oh, he's going to have to recycle the power. Got it. Okay.
That's difficult to do while you're going down the freeway. I mean,
Yeah, a
Lord
little
knows
bit,
I've
but
done
watch
it.
this, man. Jeremy Sharp, dude. No, me and Jeremy have been doing this a long time, dude. So
Yeah.
when you get a chance, key off and restart. When you do that.
Yeah,
Jeremy's awesome. He knows how to do this on the highway. We've done this on move on the highway. Watch what he does
on
here.
YouTube has volunteered to be flogged on live next time.
Got it. Yeah, we've got a couple volunteers here. I got Jim D. Simone is on as well. He's in the queue. If we can get to it tonight, if not, we'll do him next week. But okay, so Jeremy did it. All right, very good. And I bet you he's still coasting down the highway. And so it's got this big lump here, which I think the D cell is trying to do. Let's turn off his closed loop in that area just for now. Okay, and he's got minimum RPM 1300 for closed loop. I like that. Okay. Won't start.
I was going to say.
Try
what's
the
up?
pedal. Did we kill something over here? Let's make sure we got it all keyed in right. What's he saying? I'm kind of messing up. There he goes. He got it running. Okay. So it needs some warm start stuff.
Was it a flood clear?
I think that's probably what he did. Hold on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, idle air fuels are good. Yeah, it's probably the fueling we changed a little bit. Now the cranking fuel probably needs to be added. This, okay, that's good. It's going less nuts on the closed loop comp. There we go.
Well,
it was
fun
adding
now.
about.
Jesus.
What's that?
I'm just watching the trace. You
Yeah,
know,
he's in and out of the throttle a lot, but he's
Yeah.
in town, and he's in New England or whatever. So this guy's around 1 billion people. Yeah, let it decel lean like that. I'm okay with that instead of trying to add a bunch of fuel. Then we'll let closed loop work. Yeah, see, he's still in it a little bit here, so it needs. I wonder if his manifold pressure sensor. I'm not worried about that air fuel when he's decelerating, which is what he's doing. It's like he's going down a hill on a highway right now. I'm just kind of cleaning this up a little bit because it's ugly. But I bet his VE's up here. Let's. God, these are still way the fuck off by like double, dude. It acts like he's got 2 10s in here. Pardon my French. We're going to have to take this one after the fact offline and figure out what's going on. So when you don't see numbers of 100 VE around peak torque, which would be around this area here, there's still something off with the fuel scaling. How much is it compensating on closed loop? It might be a good idea just to run the data logger, which is this clipboard up here.
And see what's going on.
Yeah, because this table, watch, we look at the graph on this, it's going to be effed.
Holly's fuel model on alcohol is off, and you was, whoa.
Yeah, this is not right. Hold on. At least get the right damn shape in here for him. Hold on. And this should not be going down. I don't know what happened here. We got to get this thing back on the dyno, Jeremy. There we go. Take it up to Dave. It's Krasinski, I think, was helping tune on this. EFX tuning guy, he was very helpful. We were on his dyno, and dude's a sharp tuner. I mean, if it's doing this, maybe he's got a weird vacuum leak or something.
People are saying too, and I keep saying his map sensor acts funny, man. There's something.
It does. It like decelerates strange and way down low. Like, is it really pulling 12 inches?
Check his Excel fuel on the map sensor. If his map sensor's reading funny and there's Excel fuel on the map sensor, I could see it causing all kinds of weird issues.
Yeah. Okay. So usually we have that disabled. Nope. He's got that part right. I'm going to lower this while I'm here. But, okay, it seems... Yeah, I don't believe his map sensor scaled right.
Something's wrong there.
Hold on, let's check it at rest. When you get a chance, pull over is what I'm telling him.
Like right now it's floored. Like it's down to -12 just sitting there.
Yeah. Is that decelerating the whole time? Or what is that doing?
As the resident non-Holly guy, is the map sensor in the Holly ECU like it is in some other ECUs?
No, it's a separate box. It's a separate piece.
So in other words, it's a typical GM sensor, like maybe a 3-bar
Could be.
or something?
Yep, could be.
Okay. And then
I told him to pull over. I want to see what's going on here, because now we've got it just jacked up. I mean, it runs good under load.
Well, then there's always the question of what is the manifold source? And are the lines, clean and solid and no leaks and all that kind of junk?
Also asking what maps
We'll figure that part out.
Yeah,
that's what I want to know. I want to see if it reads 0, because he's not far from sea level. So it should read about 0. Okay, he's shut down. So now I've been making little changes here. God, it's showing right where it should be at rest. A little less than 0. Huh.
What map sensor's in this thing?
What? Okay, I'm asking him if is it the Duramax? So he set it up for
a custom 3-bar. But look at that. Oh, I guess that's a weird.
So
my gut says this may be the Duramax map sensor that the sloppy mechanics guy tells everybody works. It only actually goes to 40 kPa, but it's not scaled properly. Like so if you put it minus 14.5, you're really only at 40 kPa.
Yeah, because Duramax.
I'm almost sure this is the Duramax sensor. This sucks. That's why it's doing this. So it fucks with the map. So really what you get is when it shows minus, he likely should have it, I'm guessing. I don't know. Matt Sanford's listening. He might have run into this before. I think I talked to him, but this might actually
tell you
be
the scaling on that.
Okay, what is it?
0
He's going to find out
is,
for me which one it is.
If it's a Duramax 3.3 bar, it's 36.66 kPa at 0 volts. And at 5 volts, it's 370 kPa.
Is it 0 and 5 or half a volt and 4.5?
Well, the scale that I've got is 0 to 5.
0 to 5? That's
got
fine. That's fine. You can do that on the Holly. He's finding out what map sensor it is.
Yeah.
He's got the part number here, James. Are you good at looking up part numbers? Do you know the GM part numbers?
I've got it right here on a spreadsheet.
0261 230 185.
Are the housings on those, do they look like all the other GM map sensors? Or is
Yes.
it- Okay.
Well, there's Bosch type ones. There's four different body styles. It's a Bosch GM3 bar is what he says, James.
Is it
The last
So
three
it-
digits are 185.
Is there also
Oh yeah,
something-
yeah. That's a LS9 sensor. Is it red on top?
I'm asking him.
You said 0261 30 185?
261
230.
230 185.
Yeah. It should
Yes, he
also
got it.
say
It's red
one-
on top. It's an LS9. He confirmed.
Yeah,
What's
it's
the scale on
LS9
that?
sensor. Scale. It should have a drop down menu for it. Actually, it shouldn't even be a custom. But I can give it to you. Half a volt is 20 kPa. 4.5 volts is 270 kPa.
What's that work out to in PSI? Hold on.
Good question.
He doesn't have a drop down for this one.
It's the 3.5.
Should be
bar,
the
if I remember right.
25. The
This one here, that's a 2.5 bar.
yeah, that's all
That's
it
the
is.
LS9 sensor, yes.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, 125, 92, 525.
Yep.
Don't rescale the tables. Key it on.
Out of curiosity, I'm not saying this has anything to do with this, but are those kind of sensors being knocked off now? So meaning, depending on where you buy it, it could be an OE
Yes.
quality, or it could be garbage.
They are definitely knocked off, and it's stupid to buy a knockoff sensor because you can literally buy that GM sensor that he has from GM for like $40.
You think he's got a
40
knockoff
bucks
now,
kills you in
maybe,
about-
guys? Because look at what it's reading at rest. It's reading about almost Denver elevation, and he's out of New England. Let me ask him where he's at. What city are you in? Before I say that, he could be in damn Arizona or somewhere else. I'm asking him.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem is we make a lot of assumptions about, especially data inputs being accurate. And as we've learned, as recently as last week, Scott, the data inputs can be complete crap, especially if, for example, you have an EGT bung that has a cap that was missing on one cylinder.
Yes. No, I am. Yeah, I remember that. No, back to this. Sorry, my head is on this. And why is this so fucked up? This tune. There's something wrong here that's making this table jack.
Well, I don't like his map sensor's not reading 0. We got to figure that
No,
out.
so that's what I'm sitting here. I'm thinking, well, I think maybe he's got a bunk sensor, right? So let's offset this. And by the way, this
Well,
is KPA.
You could also figure out where he's located. I mean, the Barrow,
Sayreville, New Jersey.
based
He's
on what the
damn near
weather
sea
is.
level. He's damn near sea level. So just for grins, I think you can do this without. Oh, I fucking hate these displays down here. This is the dumbest shit ever. Sorry.
Grab the top line and drag it up. You can make it bigger.
That's as big as it goes.
101 kPa today in Sayreville.
It's 101 kPa right now in Sayreville, according to Jason's checking it out over here. So 123. I need to take out. Let's see here. So this is, and erroneously says PSI. So I need to take out 22. So I need to do 8, offset 8. Now this should get him at least a correct reading at rest. There it is. Boom. Okay. You can also compare it to the Barrow and the Holly. He's showing 100.6. Good job, Jason. You're right. So 101 kPa is fair. So now cycle the power again, Jeremy.
So the
Awesome
lesson
job,
for-
Jeremy, by the way, tonight, man. You talk about being a guinea pig. This is cool. Hopefully everybody can see this.
The lesson for all y'all is make sure that when you just power it up before you do anything else, that your sensors make sense.
Yeah.
Because if your coolant sensor isn't ambient, if your inlet air temperature isn't ambient, the other things, if those things are reading goofy stuff, you're going to have trouble. So
I'm
it's
going
good
to, for the
have-
sake
yeah.
of hopefully not killing how this thing drives in traffic, I'm going to turn on his closed loop
Make sure you can get home.
Yeah, just in case. I'm gonna let it do a bunch of change in here in these areas. No, Jeremy is a road warrior. If you guys know any of his stories or follow his YouTube channel, oh, there's that holly bug. Watch. Type in 50. It doesn't change the cells. But if you come at it from a different angle, still doesn't change the cells. But if you go like this, type in 50, there it goes. Got to just find the right, what makes it
So
happy.
upper right, not bottom left or
It
bottom.
just depends on the day, man. Let's not get that specific because it'll go be different the next minute. But you just got to mess with it sometimes. This hollies, the older they've gotten, the more bugs they've gotten into. But that's typical. All right, Jeremy, let's drive it. And I'm gonna get and highlight the whole table in case this thing is just super weird, lean or bad behavior.
Since everybody knows about this combination except me and our audience, can we just give kind of the basic outline of what this is? I'm assuming it's an
Junkyard
LS.
Turbo LS.
Yeah.
End of story.
I guess, but I want to make sure. We're tuning guys with Saabs with Miata engines with turbos, so I have to ask.
No problem. Okay, now it's a little bit fat at idle at this point. I'm going to start over with, so now he's driving, he's hauling ass. And it's, not adding much at all. That's pretty good.
No, that's pretty.
Hey, still got huge fuel flow errors. Dude, these injectors or this fuel system is not flowing what you think it is. It's flowing way more, to the tune of like 30%. So we have something wrong. You probably got Holly 160s and not 120s.
But those closed loop numbers, those are solid.
Yeah, it's hitting. I mean, it's not having to work to do much closed loop, so it's seems okay. I'm going to leave it here, but what I would do is I would rescale so you can, if you want to be slick and these numbers piss you off as much as me, you need to multiply times about 1.3 here. You know what else may be wrong? Our fuel pressure sensor not scaled right.
That's where my head's at.
Yeah, because if he's sure it's 120s and we're seeing this, then
Yep. So, but here's the deal. The actual fuel flow on this combo, for whatever it's worth, we need to take this up by 130%. So wasn't there a total system flow? There's not on this one, is there? Let's see. Why am I missing it? There's normally a total fuel system flow.
this is why I like to have a little mechanical gauge, even though they're not perfectly accurate. At least you can sort of do a little.
So I'm just going to do
compare and
this. So 120 times 1.3, 156. So it actually acts, I'm sorry, dude. I think you got 160s. The math literally works out to having 160s and a little few PSI low. So now that I did that, I'm going to take this whole table times 1.3. Okay, now I'm going to say,
Yeah, but you're still only 83 VE 84 at 25 pounds of boost.
no, but I'm right here at 5. I'm at 100. Well, yeah, so obviously, hold on. So what I'm looking for is I'm trying to get this row
I got
to be
you.
right.
I see where you're at.
And then take this row,
yes.
paste it, offset it, times 1.14. So then bring this down here, fill columns. That'll make Mike's OCD quite a bit better.
Yes.
Except this isn't, you're not making this at
how's
all.
that?
So
It's Bill, you have to understand, like, so watching him do it, I comprehend. The way I would do it, the way he is doing it is entirely different.
Yep.
We're
I
getting
can
to
see
the
that.
same thing. I'm more of a,
yeah.
see, I
There's
like to
different means
highlight.
to an end here.
I like to highlight and control right arrow my ass off, or control, moving fuel around. He likes to offset table, offset table, offset table. We accomplish the same thing.
Right. I'm just looking at where the values end up. That's all I'm
Yes.
kind of wondering about. So, because I'm really slow.
He's
that's
getting to
why-
a parking lot right now. Sit tight. He's almost at a parking lot.
That's
Okay,
why I
pull
like
over,
my,
key on.
I'll use the
We made a
hotkey fill.
huge wholesale change here, and we didn't save a backup of it, but that's okay. Hold on. We'll make this work.
Yeah. it'll be all right.
Okay. Cycle the power once.
Remember, kids, always save a backup of the original tune.
Which I didn't do right there, but this is on the fly, man. There's definitely, I'm in Rich Pedraza mode right now. Do it. Okay. Start it up, and it's running.
There's
And it's a little
one of
bit
the
rich
great-
here, but that's okay. I'm just going to take this row.
It turns out there's a blessing in disguise because of all the wind turbine construction going on in the middle of the country. They have way better cell coverage. I mean, just from last year to this year, cell coverage is way better.
Oh.
Actually, that meant that
Is that what made it? So I was going to say, noticed in Colorado, Rich and we had great cell coverage out in the middle of nowhere. We were pretty.
that's why you have great cell coverage, because they use that as their communications technology to talk to the wind turbines.
Okay, so.
Not to mention the people installing them. Which is why there was no room at the inn in Sterling, Colorado, right on the border
Oh, yeah.
when he got there.
We couldn't get him a room. I called every place in town for him, literally. And I was like, all right, here's your best bet. You're going to go to a rest area. Or there was this CDOT had a really nice rest area there, like a traveler's station or whatever.
That is a nice rest area. I've been to that place.
Yeah, it was the welcome center is what it was. So they it was really decked out nice and had showers and stuff. But okay,
Matt's kind of tapping on my thought. I'm betting he has a 0 to 150 fuel pressure sensor. And
I bet it is too. That may be our whole issue.
Yeah, because that would be a 33% change, which would also be right about where we want to be.
Yeah, good call. Is that Sanford? Good work, buddy. So I'll tell Jeremy. Okay, this is.
He's got some homework to do.
Take a little bit out here. Yep, he'll figure it out. He's made some changes that we gotta clean this up.
And so, kids, if you're following at least the conversation on YouTube, you're seeing that you have to scale your sensors to match what your outputs are. And if you don't, well,
Yeah, it can throw a bunch of stuff off, and I think maybe that's what's going on. But we've at least rescaled the fueling so that the numbers are right on it. And dude, it's not horrible cruising around. Is his closed loop comp? Let me know if it's running like ass or anything.
so real quick, guys, post on the YouTube podcast for those who are listening. What other podcasts do you get to see live tuning on real cars on the show?
Yeah, no kidding. Thanks everybody for tuning in and putting up with this. This is typical.
Yeah.
I want to do more of these because this is how these go. This kind of gets people up to
So
speed.
this is remote tuning, bro. We all like to brag about our little ones. Like I joke about the margarita tuning where I get to sit on the couch, just drop a couple tables and everything's
Yeah,
wonderful. That does
no.
happen.
Figuring them out is where it's at.
Yeah, that does happen, but this is what most of them turn into.
That's cool. He had me do that one at a stoplight. You got balls, Jeremy. I love this guy.
By the way, your tuner will not typically look up hotel reservations for you ahead of while you're on the drag and drive events. So don't expect that as a conventional service. That is the platinum level
Oh,
content.
we felt so bad for Rich. It was like 109 at night.
His map sensor just went to 0 at 0 TPS.
Well,
In
that's
and
what
out.
it should do on D-cell, on hard D-cell.
Yeah, but no, I mean,
it did?
He was sitting at dead idle and it went to 0 PSI at 0 TPS.
Okay, we're logging. Let's go look at that. Hold on. Let's go look at that log.
This is why if you're going to do remote tuning, be aware of where you have good connectivity.
Yes, where you can get decent internet. It doesn't got to be super fast internet. Okay, and map. RPM, TPS, and map is what he wanted to look at. Somewhere in here. Let's get rid of RPM.
Hey, boys and girls, a little bit about what we're looking at, just a little bit.
Nope. So we're looking at the two signals for throttle
they're
position
following
sensor in
good.
green and map. I think it's behaving properly. They should
Yeah.
kind of follow each other.
They should follow each other very well. Yeah,
I think you caught him in a transition like right
I had
here.
to have.
No, and you know what it was? It's the display is slow, man. This is coming through internet times 7. Yeah, it's doing right. It's doing right. I think it's correct now too, except it's going, what's his lowest 28 kPa. Thank you, James, for calling that out, because now it's reading right. So James is right on map sensor. He had the wrong one set up. Okay, let's get back to live.
Good call, guys.
Well, it takes a village. I know how much
Remember,
Bill
the
liked
internet
that.
came from an agency called DARPA.
Yep. Thank you, DARPA.
I thought it was Al Gore.
No,
Jesus Christ.
no.
James, I tuned factory computer, so he's extra
Free
sandy
big hat
tonight.
racing sticker to the first guy who can tell me what DARPA stands for on YouTube.
Oh, I was gonna say I know, but okay, on YouTube.
No, stop.
Can I type it in on YouTube?
No,
I really want a sticker. Okay.
you get a sticker.
Oh, Matt's right, man. Learn tables are on. Fucking hey, Sanford's just way better paying attention than we are tonight. Okay, so turn this shit off. Go back and look at what damage we've done by letting it be on. No, it didn't have enough time to catch it. Okay, so it's fresh. It's no learn tables. No learn tables messing with us yet, but they would have. Okay. I mean, dude, it's not doing horrible. It's only closed loop comping when he's on the throttle hard, but I think Jeremy's just like a lead foot.
I'm a little sad here. Our millennial audience does not seem to know what DARPA is or why it's relevant to this conversation.
Oh, Kenny Howard. Well, no, Kenny Howard's a Linux guy. He's a fucking sysadmin guru. He's gonna know what DARPA means. He's probably worked on it.
There it is.
Kenny gets a sticker.
Kenny gets a sticker. Nice job, Kenny.
Send Bill your address.
Yes. Oh, Jerry. Well,
Jerry was late.
Oh,
Sorry, Jerry.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, Jeremy's cruising around pretty good here, guys. Let's take a look at this table and maybe clean it up a little bit now. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. All right, is this less triggering your OCD, Perduto? And don't pretend like it hasn't been.
Oh no, a lot less. Yeah.
Mike's gonna be eating Rolaids looking at this.
All right.
But compared to where we started,
got
I'm
three
already
sticker
like,
winners
okay,
here. Send us
All right,
your emails.
we're just gonna play Minecraft for a little bit.
Alex L, Kenny, and Matt.
There you go.
No,
Fill
who else
those.
had that? Jerry got it. Now, why is DARPA relevant to the conversation we're having tonight? In
There
20
we
words or
go.
less?
With each keystroke, Mike's blood pressure resumed normal. No, he's like me. This shit, dude, it bugs me just as
I
bad.
knew how
and
that was driving while he was driving it. Like I could just picture the car as he's driving it with that map in it. Just
So, dude, I got to tell you how badass Jeremy is, man. We've done this. He's done a motor swap in somebody's driveway in Arizona at some stranger's house, and just always maintains a positive attitude. He's got a YouTube channel that's really fun to follow when he does his road trips. Or does he do it on YouTube or Facebook Live? I forget. Jeremy, you have to tell us where you do this at. Thanks for being our guinea pig, buddy, but you're the perfect guy to do this with.
Good answer. It's where the internet came from. DARPANet. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Very nice.
Yeah, he's a Linux guy, dude. He's not dumb.
When Al Gore claims to have invented the internet, it's like, yeah, not so much, dude.
Yes. I had a friend at school when I was at University of Missouri Rolla that had the 300th internet registered website, and I think he still got it. But it was one of the early. That was 1993. That's when that was.
I got shit-faced in Stockholm with Tim Berners-Lee.
Nice.
Does that count?
That works. Stockholm. Okay. All right. This table is okay. At least you won't get herpes from this fuel table. All right. So
Matt,
it's that safe.
I saw the 10% learn in the log too, but this once again, Holly learns a little, or not, sorry. Holly learn table is a little weird. It doesn't always kick the first time. I don't know how to describe that because I don't know how or why Holly does that. But yes, I know it was there, but it was not on the table yet. Therefore, a change was not made to the main table, even though it showed in the log.
At this point, I'm going to have him drive around. Now I've got a table shape that makes sense. I'm logging. I got my logger turned back on for the laptop, and I want to see what his closed loop comp does now, because he's obviously in and out of traffic, right? So he's up there in New Jersey where there's 4 million people per square foot. So, yeah, see, he's accelerating the traffic right there and then getting back out of it a little bit. He likes his throttle activity. I think you're going to find that his closed loop, that his air, fuel, and target are pretty close. So what I'll do is I'll stop the log, save it, call it driving 1. Then I'll turn offline. open the data log. And what I want to do now is I want to look at some fuel overlays here. So I'm going to set this up so that target AFR is on panel 2 and AFR left is on panel 2. They're both scaled the same. Turn them on. Now you can just watch them. You can tell where you need to do work, wherever they're not on top of each other. And they're pretty close. You can also set it up where closed loop comp is, let's say, panel 3. Turn it on. And this gives you an idea where it's having to do work. So let's add in some fuel in spaces.
Ever.
I'm sorry?
I said we have the coolest audience ever. I don't know if you're looking at the little chat comment going on over on the YouTube podcast, but we went into why does NASA get credit for LASIK? And then we're talking about who did the design.
Oh, there's some smart dudes in there. I don't know if you guys know Alex Lundy or not.
Very smart people here.
Yeah, no, you got no idea. Some of these guys are real sharp. So Alex pretends that he's a RealTuners fan, but in real life he restores ex Formula One and Grand Prix and Indy cars like back to racing condition. Which is
I love
cool.
this audience. This is the best.
Yeah, you guys are kick-ass. This is why we do this, because we were like, I don't really have something to do tonight, but we're going to do this. It's doing it during Excel enrichment, but his cruise is not too bad. I think I would give his closed loop some more authority again here. Maybe not on pure decel, but maybe here, give it 50. Oh, dude. T-Rex. You know when your dog farts in your room and it's so bad that he gets up and leaves? I'm suffering through one of those right now.
Oh, as opposed to when you fart so bad your dog gets up.
Nope, it wasn't me, man. It was the dog. Woo! Dog. He normally doesn't
Rick
have
Walters,
that problem.
MIT. All right, nice job.
There we go. Yeah, Rick Walters, very cool. Thank you for tuning in. We like it when smart guys listening. Alex knows nothing. Yeah. Okay, so, all right, let's put this back in. We got Jeremy driving around here still. We're over here talking about DARPA. Man, this is much better. At least this thing sticks around in the right spot.
Now it looks like a table. Look at that.
Yeah.
Now it looks like.
Oh, God, we can breathe. Dude, I'm glad Barnhill's not on tonight.
Oh, man.
That guy would be triggered seeing this. You talk about someone who likes things to be right and for good reason. Good dude. Okay. What's he tuning right now? What's he out doing right now?
I don't know.
Is he on tour with somebody?
It might be Formula Drift again.
He's like pro level Formula Drift, like their top level tuner. Or one of them. He wouldn't want me to say that, but it's true. Okay, he's going good here. I bet Sanford was right about his fuel pressure. Matt, you're going to have to just join us sometime, man. You need to just get on. We'll remind me to give me a meeting invite next time. Love it when people catch shit that I'm missing.
You know, I think this system diagnosis stuff is one of the most critical parts of this process because the more sensor inputs, the more all these other elements you have,
the more you got to make sure they're right.
Yeah, the more opportunities for error enter it. And then
usually I hit that on first start. When we did Rich Pedraza's car, we spent a good 2 or 3 hours making sure all the sensors worked with single tests versus trying to even start the car. And consequently, it lit right off the first time we tried to start it when it did. I'm installing a trans in a Hudson jetliner. I'm not smart. James Goldman. James is smart. He's on here too. That's funny. Glad you're listening, buddy. My boy's in Colorado. Let's see here. Okay. I think Jeremy's good to go. I'm going to let him go. Okay. Shifting to neutral, pulling up to red light. It wants to die, but catches at 200 RPM. Let's see what his... Okay. You need the throttle screw opened up.
He's got a relatively tight converter because of all that turbo he's got, right?
I think it's a 6-speed car, isn't it?
Oh, it's a stick? Really?
Let me ask him.
That might explain why the trace was moving around so violently.
6-speed. Yep, it is a stick car.
Yeah.
Yay, everything about Jeremy is cool.
Yeah, because
Okay.
an automatic with a big stall converter, everything just oozes, so it doesn't move to the table so fast.
So he's complaining about it drop or the RPM drop. I could, in the meantime, usually what that is I like to have more idle valve open, but we can try. Yeah, he's already got a pretty high parked position right here. I don't like this ramp down that's long. I also like to see more.
Jetliner.
I hate this ramp down shit. Motor wanders around. Okay, so
This thing has an IAC.
yes,
Okay.
but look, it's having to stay pretty far open when he's off the throttle there at idle. 30% is kind of high. I'd like to see it at like 0 or 5.
Oh, then it needs to open the mechanical throttle angle, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We can do later. Just need to raise the idle screw a little bit. This is cool. What I hope he does is we can take it back to Dave Krasinski at EFX and get on his dyno, or Dave can go through the tune. Dave helped him debug a lot of physical problems on site, which is what makes Dave a kick-ass tuner, because he's not. Okay, I'm just going to say it one time. The tuners that you see bitching about, this car's not ready for me or whatever, and I get it. It sucks when they're not ready, but tuning is about eliminating problems. So if a sensor's not working or something, you've got to stop and figure that shit out. The customer will be happier. They'll come back to you again in the future. Yeah, I see James beating up on this a lot. James, people bring him a lot of basket cases, and he's got to struggle through that. It's hard to make money on them, but in the end, you got to get that car running.
Yeah, whereas you make bank on Rocky Mountain Race Week cars.
Or you just
He's got a screwdriver. He's going to turn the idle up.
I'm sorry, Mike.
That was James.
Oh. James?
Cool. He's raising it up right now. Hold on.
I said you just pick and choose nicer cars to work on that don't have that's prone to be problematic.
Yes. Yes.
It is nice. I'm a little spoiled in that, as are some of us have customers that are all about it. Shit. May lock up. He didn't have the key on.
Hey, Matt Sanford asked, is this thing on pump gas? I don't see any.
93, it's on pump gas.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yep. Why? What did he say?
GPS pop back up.
Matt said he didn't see any advanced tables. I don't know Holly enough to comment on that.
Yeah, I don't want advanced tables on here. Let's get this thing running right first. Okay, there's something wrong here.
I've had this issue. He might have to activate the TPS auto set on his end. I've had it be funky.
No, it's if you start the TPS auto set and he didn't have the key on, it fucking hangs up the whole program. Because I got to be honest with you, Holly's software is like the lowest standard out there. I mean, it's pretty horrible. Hold on. So let's do. I think I can send a Control Alt Delete.
Control Alt Delete, nice. Yeah, so Matt Sanford, that's why we were talking about mechanical adjustment on the throttle body a second ago. Same thing you're observing with the IAC at 31%.
He's killing it. Come on, baby. Go away, Holly shitware, software. End task. Yep. Perfect. Now TPS auto set. Okay, wide open twice. Done. Okay. Start it up. Now it's running. What's his IAC at? Still a little bit much. It's 10% better.
Yep.
A little bit more.
What kind of throttle body is it? I mean,
No idea. It doesn't matter.
I know it's
doing remote tune. It doesn't matter. You got to if you get it where the IAC is happy at rest, then it won't want to stumble and die.
So define IAC happy at rest.
Idle air control valve.
No, I know what. Sorry, I meant what does IAC happy at rest mean?
So you want to use all your idle air for warming up, not to run the engine when it's warm. You want to have it for cold start, right? If you've already using 30% of the IAC at idle when it's warm, then you've only got 60% to use at cold
Start,
right?
yes.
So really, you want to have it idle warm all on throttle, not on idle valve. There he goes. So he's got.
That's what I was looking for.
Yep. He's getting closer here. Hold on. I don't see his TPS incrementing. It still makes me think his sensor might be whack a little bit.
Looking at Matt Sanford's last post, how non-linear are poly injectors at low throttle angles?
Friggin' horrible. These low any low impedance injector with crap minimum open times, they're old.
Are they consistent in terms of characteristics at that, or are you going to have to tune around each individual?
No, I mean, really what you're going to do is you're going to sit there and run the engine on all these different load cells, and you're going to figure out what it wants and figure out your theory later. Okay, he's done. Jeremy's so good at this, man. This guy's a road warrior, and once you've done this for a while, you can really get a rhythm going. Okay, that's going to be better. Yep, closer to 10. Drive on that for a while.
That's why I generally try to run those things a little bit richer, so that
it's happier.
Injector that's not as snappy or something as another. It doesn't run lean on that hole and cause it to run like crap.
Right. Yeah, you got to compensate for the ones that are crappy by running the other ones a little fat. Okay, it's adding. No, man, but dude, this table's about right on. You see that? Other than his Excel enrichment will trigger a little bit of closed loop comp positive sometimes, and I don't mind it decelling at 16s. I don't care.
So Matt writes, poly injectors are super unstable at low injector pulse width from my experience.
Yes.
What injectors do we recommend?
Bosch, baby. So real Bosch. That's sold by Fuel Injector Development all day long.
Most any of your big low impedance stuff sucks at low RPM.
Those Siemens Deca 220s are bad bitches at low.
They're badass.
I love them. Yeah. Cool. I told him good enough. He says it's driving really good. He's happy with it. I'm going to save it, send him off. And I told him, let's get together in a couple days. What I'll do is I'll have him make logs or do real-time driving like this. And we'll go from there. Very cool. Thank you, Jeremy. I think your name's pronounced Fazal or Faisal, whatever. However, thank you, dude. That was badass. He's headed home. Talk to you later. Very cool. Got him all cleaned up while driving, while running. Hope people enjoyed that. Yep.
Fix my tune. Look at my spark plug. I like it. I like the
Matt
graphic.
Sanford says he'd go to a sub 40 psi base pressure on that one. I might consider that, only because that what he's getting at is you can run a higher pulse width at idle then, and you get out of that non-linear or non-good behavior range on these injectors. But personally, what I would do is I would run different injectors.
Better quality injector.
These are known for getting weird. One injector can get weird but still work, but cause misfires at higher PM. Mike, were you at that class at KSR where we had to debug that one on the dyno? That was one of Kevin Smith's classes. I don't know if you were there or not. They had a pickup truck on the dyno. I don't think it was the one you were at. They had a pickup truck on the dyno, and they couldn't figure out this high-end misfire. It ended up being the injectors. We swapped out the injectors after trying everything else, just on a whim. Yep, fuel injector connection's a good one. FID is another good one. Tom Sewell. Yeah. Cool. All right. Sounds good. I was just reading the feedback here. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too afraid of this motor on pump gas on that injector size, honestly. I'm not super bent concerned. Sorry, answering messages here. So who else got questions before we let the crowd go? It's about that time. Literally that time. I haven't been watching Facebook questions. I apologize if you feel like you're getting ignored. We have more people on YouTube, I think.
Facebook hasn't had a whole lot.
Okay, just want to make sure we're not missing any. Well, 57 comments. Sean was explaining to me how to fix the goddamn thing, the Holly bug. I know, Control Shift Escape. Let's see here. So cool. Well, I think that's about it. So Jason, if you want to cue up the outro stuff. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Do another one next week. People seem to like this. We'll do another one if you want to. Some people seem to really like that. If Holly reads 69 on the dome while it's unplugged, it probably got another sensor that's messed up, Billy Brantley. Message me offline. I can walk you through that. Do I mess with the little O2 sensors? Yes, on motorcycles, finally. Just did one of those recently. You had asked about that before, Alex Landy. All right, we'll let you guys go. Everybody take it easy. We'll talk to you in a week. Check out my funky background. And I think that's all. Sign us off. Y'all take care.